Oh my, it's Kelly White.
Hey, it's Change Your Talk.
What are you up to?
Thinking about changing the world.
Me too. We should do a show together.
What would it be about?
Let me show you.
The James and Kelly Show. Hey, hi, James.
Hi, Kelly.
Okay, so
This
we
is
have
so
to
weird.
address this. Look, we're
I
wearing the
know,
same
right?
outfit,
Same outfit. I
same
asked her what
color.
color should I wear, and they said she's going to wear a purple orange. I said, okay, I'll go and see what I have.
It's so perfect. It's
And
so
it's very
perfect.
autumn, very
It's
autumn colors.
so autumn. Oh my gosh, I miss being in New York with you when we would do New York in the fall.
Omega, yeah, it was
Omega,
great.
so beautiful.
We had the best time in New York.
I
Remember,
know.
Paul,
Oh, we
I
had a
just
lot
met
of
Paul
fun.
Jacobs yesterday. Paul Jacobs, you're with in Biagio. I mentioned I was talking about him yesterday with Janet and the Havoc, and
I
the time
love them.
remember the time we spent in New
Oh,
York with him,
so
Leader
much
Hosen.
fun.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Lederhosen had the best time ever.
That's great.
Guess what I've been doing?
What have you
Speaking
been
of
doing,
fall,
Kelly?
well, I'll tell you. I went apple picking in my yard because I have an apple orchard, and I made homemade apple
Wow,
cider.
that's great. Wow,
I know. Don
wow.
says it was a urine, but it's not urine, it's apple cider.
Yeah, well, it depends how you look at it, I guess. How many trees did that take? Like, how many
Oh,
apples did
that
that
took
take?
about 30 apples.
That's about 30 apples.
hmm
And how much did you make? How much cider did you make?
That is it. This is what I made.
And
This
you've
is
never
what I
done this
made.
before. You've never done
No,
this before.
never did this before. I used a big steamer to make it. And but before when I made grapes, I have all these grapes, I made grape juice and I made several of these large containers.
Grapes.
Yes, but apples for some reason it takes I don't know. I have to go back and pick some more tomorrow and then do the whole process again and oh, and then I'm going to make cider. And then I'm
That's
going to make
great.
moonshine.
I'll be there. So
Okay, perfect.
do you peel the apples? You have to
Nope.
peel?
No,
No.
you wash them and put them in this
The
thing.
core them? Take
Nope,
the core. No.
nothing. They
Wow, that's
steam.
great.
They steam.
That's great.
It's the greatest process ever.
Wow. That's great, Kelly. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Coming from a girl
A
from
girl
Beverly Hills. It's
girl
a
from
big
Beverly Hills. I can
I
do
mean,
it.
yeah. It's pretty good.
So
So
we've had some interesting experiences. Let's just mention this quickly. Colin Powell died.
Colin Powell died. Yes, you have COVID, which he was already vaccinated. So
Vaccinated. But he had cancer too. And
oh,
he had
did he?
Parkinson's. Yeah.
Well,
So
we
he
can
had a lot of things. And
yeah.
I also want to mention one other person that passed away that was dear to us and a lot to the world, really, is a man named Ronnie Tutt. So
And
you
who
may
is
not.
Sunnyside?
Ronnie Tutt was Neil Diamond's drummer for 40 years,
Wow.
but was really well known for being Elvis's drummer.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we believe that there are no more of Elvis's musicians
Oh,
left.
wow.
It was
Wow.
probably Ronnie was the last one.
Wowee.
And
Wow.
interesting enough, after Elvis died, Ron Tutt played for Jerry Garcia, who died, and then he went to play for Neil Diamond for 40 years. Such a
Wow.
nice man, had the greatest heart in the world. So I just want to say a shout out
Wow.
to his wife, who we just loved.
Uh, wow.
Loved Ronnie so much.
Wow. And what's happening? We've got now. We're going to talk to them about life planning, but are there? Do you think there are exit points according to astrology wise? Are there exit points for
Oh,
soul?
absolutely.
What do you
Absolutely.
think?
We have exit points. Oh my gosh, when we talk about life planning, it also includes our ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
We get
includes
exits.
everything actually. But let's talk a little bit about
Yeah.
astrology.
Yeah. What's
Should we
going on with those retrogrades, Kelly? Because
Okay, so
it's a kick in my
today, oh my God, I know. Today, two planets went direct today. So you need to know that Jupiter went direct today.
It's
So
good.
Jupiter, when that goes direct, everybody needs to know that financially things will move, energy starts to move forward. It's a
Fortune,
great
luck.
fortune, luck. It's a great time to look for a job now. I mean, it really is. This is a super time when Jupiter goes direct because it's expansive.
And what
But
sign is it in, Kelly?
it's in Aquarius, so it's
Oh, that's
really about
great.
humanity and
Yeah.
changing the world and
Bigger causes. Yeah.
bigger causes.
Humanitarian causes. And it's a good time to save money too. Get money and
Absolutely.
save money. I don't know
And
why it's in my head to save money, but
it's great for spiritual growth.
fantastic. Oh well,
Yeah.
Aquarius is Jupiter, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really perfect. And
Wow.
then also Mercury today goes direct.
Oh thank God.
And it's in Libra. So let me tell you a little bit about that. It's about relationships. And so when it goes direct, you're going to mend anything that's been broken. So in this past several weeks of Mercury retrograde, when the energies have been very fierce, maybe you need some apologies. Maybe you need to mend some fences here. This is a great time to do that. Just saying. In the event that this is a situation for anybody,
But Mercury, Libra, and Libra's balance, isn't it? Relationships and balance.
Exactly.
So it's communication is
Exactly.
relationships. Mercury communications in relationships. Yeah, balanced relationships.
Absolutely. So
Wow.
the other thing is it does leave two planets that are retrograde and that will continue to be
Let me ask
retrograde.
you one other thing. We have a Sun in Libra too. So would that affect it? Sun in Libra and Mercury in Libra? Would that be extra?
Oh, extra relationship stuff.
And relationships.
Yeah.
Okay.
And balance, extra balance, extra relationship. Yeah. And love and kindness, all of those things that it goes with Libra, really. But it also, we still have a remainder left of Neptune and Uranus. So Neptune's in Pisces retrograde still. And
What does that mean?
it means to soul search.
Ah, okay.
So
Intuitive, right? The intuitive self.
in Pisces, yeah, it's really soul searching now. Continue for months. It's really about soul searching. And
A friend of
Uranus
mine is a Pisces and knows. Well, I'm going to write that down because that will help.
will help. Okay, good. And
Yes.
also Uranus is in Taurus. So Uranus in Taurus is still retrograde. And that's going to be, as it's in retrograde, working on fears of letting things go. That expression, just let it go, of which we're going to talk about when we get to life, our our show tonight. But it's about letting go. So
Wow.
there's going to be a lot of that. But the last thing I do want to talk about really quickly for Wednesday. So I want everybody to pay attention to Wednesday because this Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 is the full hunter moon in Aries.
Uh-oh.
And
Not
yes,
good.
no, not only that, but it also is opposite Mars and squaring Pluto. So it means it's going to be very explosive.
That could
So you
be
really,
I think land grabs and wars, and Aries rules war too. So I mean, I would be
mhm,
thought there's something fast and
it's
quick.
watch power struggles.
Power
So
struggles.
if you're having trouble with somebody or work or anything, please count to 10, walk away, drink a glass of water, breathe, do yoga, anything you can. Sing a happy song, anything you can, because or stay home, frankly. Frankly,
I'm
stay
doing yoga
home.
that day for
Do
sure. I already
yoga.
have it planned.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
astrologically.
Wow. 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 Okay. Wow,
So
that's amazing. How was your weekend? Besides that, like,
well, I had a lot of it was good. It was good. I had to rest a lot because I was with family for a week.
yeah, you need rest after that for
I
sure.
needed to rest. Yeah. So I
So, now
did.
we're talking about pre-planning your life
Yes.
before we come back. And Kelly, we haven't really talked a lot about this with you and I, but I think we're probably on the same page with
Yeah.
this. The soul, my understanding and from my experiences, that we pre-plan or you have a
Mhm.
blueprint of the life ahead. Because if we think of this as a schoolroom here, and then we're going to take a class, we take some classes, and we ask other soulmates, taking classes before, do you want to take the class in this? And this time I'll
Yep.
be the mother, you'll be the father, you'll be the granddaughter, you'll be the boy that dies of suicide. Well, this situation. And we tend to work with our guides and teachers,
Mhm.
counsel, if you will, and pre-plan the next life experience.
Well,
Incarnate.
it's very true. I mean, somebody asked, and I get asked this a lot, how do you know it's time to even go back? How do you know? And it's very interesting because when you start to do a life selection, there are a lot of things that you look into. You don't just haphazardly say, I'm going to show up and show up in a body here. It doesn't work that way. You actually have to, there's a lot of things. And one of the things, James, that we do before we come in is we actually have an interview with a spiritual advisor to determine, are we ready to incarnate? Are we ready to come here? Isn't that interesting?
It's really interesting, and for years, and maybe this is the way it is too. I don't know because it's just a possibility here. That there are many times I used to want to do private reading all the time, those reading sessions. I get a lot of people that some suicides come
Hmm.
through, and they said, and my cousin Patricia went this
Yeah,
way, and I know it.
right.
I came back too quick, and I wasn't. They were there's divine timing to everything,
Hmm.
and I found that their rhythm is off, and they feel like, yeah, I don't fit in here. I don't feel like I fit in here at
Yeah.
all, and it's a very different thing. for most of us, say, "Oh, I don't want to be
Yep.
here," or whatever. That they just do not feel they fit in at all, and if their timing is off. Their timing
Right,
is
timing is off. Well,
they have free will.
it's
Hmm.
funny you said about we do have free will, and it's interesting about a life selection because one of the first things we do is we look at before we come in, and we do this, are we ready? We work with guides and we work with spiritual advisors. Are we ready to come? And once that's been determined, we're ready to come, then we look at cultural conditions and events that are happening in the Earth School at the time. Because as there's no such thing as time on that side, so we can go ahead, we can look, and we some of us may even come down here to actually look at families, almost like just checking them out. Is this an area I could live in? Is this somebody that I could have a relationship with? This, I mean, it's really interesting that you would do this kind of work, to see if you even fit in, if it's a good time for you to come in.
And wow, and it's so true. And there are a lot of souls. Well, everyone, I think, prepares for this lifetime in, let's say, a skill set. Let's say they want to
Yeah.
be in this lifetime, maybe a painter. Well, you
Yep.
might go to school for a while over there, or take classes, or do something to learn that
Yep.
skill, or bring that skill to the surface. So that
Right.
happens quite a bit too. When
Oh yeah.
you're planning,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Well, so we would look at geographic location, we'd look at race, we'd look at culture, we'd look at events. And also, we have to then look at what kind of body do we want to have? What kind of physical body do we want to choose?
because that's those are lessons too. So if you come back
Ev
and decide,
Absolutely. Let's say you choose our body for a reason, for a complete reason. Like let's say there's an example is let's say you choose a body that has you can't walk. Now, why would somebody choose that? And you might think, because of karma. No, not necessarily. You may have chosen that body because you need the time, you want to work on your mind. So if you can't run and walk, you'd be able to
interesting,
work on your mind.
interesting. Never
Mhm.
thought of that. That's really interesting. Because
Isn't
that
that
makes sense.
interesting?
Makes
Now,
so much
it
sense.
makes so much sense. Now, it could, of course, be a karmic, but not necessarily. Not necessarily.
But
And
it's
it's
all
so
about learning, and it's learning what that experience is like. It's learning to be to be alive in a physical vibration, physical body with no
yes,
legs to get around. So yeah,
yes. So you'd be working on this. And it's so interesting too, because so much unhappiness, if you think about it, James, especially now with the internet and everything, people get so by society, they start feeling so uncomfortable by their body or whatever. But believe it or not, that too is part of a soul plan that you
hundred
came in
percent,
to learn.
100%, 100%. And whether it's belief in yourself or
Right.
you know, there's so many different lessons that we learn about the self and about the soul. But yeah, it makes
Oh
total
my
sense.
gosh.
I
Well,
don't believe in accidents.
there's no such thing, no such thing. But also, so once we get the physical characteristics that we want, a really important piece of that is the psychological dynamic that we're going to come that we want. So that's as important as the body. Do you want to come in anxious? Do you need to come in depressed? Do you want to come in with a strong mental capacity? What do you want to come in? It all depends on what your soul is here to learn, right?
But Kelly, that goes in line with to what I've always said, which and Spirit has shown me over the years. The bodies that we have, the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body,
Yes,
the spiritual body, and in one lifetime, I have a feeling, sense that in one lifetime we choose to come back to work really on the mental body, maybe more.
100%.
So there'll be mental illness or some sins of family or
Yes,
emotional, where maybe you come back as a water sign, very emotional, very sensitive. So I
absolutely.
don't you think we tend to more
Abs-
work on all
Absolutely.
the bodies, but one in particular we might choose to choose one lifetime.
Absolutely. I mean, when we come here, it is not by chance. We
Yeah,
have very specific ideas of what we're going to come and learn here. And
true.
also, it's our guides, our peer groups, the elders, they all help us with these decisions. We're not just doing this by ourselves. It's very overwhelming, as you can imagine it would be. I
I
think,
I can't even screw in a light bulb, so I can imagine what
well,
pre-planning
I can't.
beforehand.
I'm right there with you. But it's so funny because I've always gotten upset when people tell me that they don't want to live.
Yeah,
And although I can understand it, I
you
get
can understand it.
upset.
Such a yeah, same, same.
You do too. I get
It
upset.
is a gift. It's a
It's
gift.
such a
It's a
gift,
gift,
and we work so damn hard to be here. If it's just so complicated almost. There's a
and
lot
that's
of
what
work
I
that has
think.
to be done.
And many suicides, many, not all, but there are some that I've been brought back, and they've been really that's the hell state, but they've been really upset with what they chose because they realize it was such
It's
a waste, and they're that mindset of wow, what did I do? What did I
right.
do? We got to break them out of that because
Right.
but sometimes they find it, wow, I gave this up. This was such a gift, and look what
Oh,
I did.
that's so true.
But then
And
there are
we
other souls that choose to plan with their families, and so
yes.
to go through the experience of suicide, and what will the family members learn from that, what that soul
Right.
will learn from that. So again, that's can be not all suicide, but there are some that there
Right.
was definitely a destiny point, if we can call
Well,
it that.
it's so true. And sometimes our blueprints are, let's say we have a life that's very easy. Let's say for some reason we don't learn that much from an easy life. We don't learn that much. So the next life that you would come in, being mindful of the fact that you had an easy life and didn't learn anything, you might choose a life this time that would be more trauma to it.
Thing. So, and I know this for sure that there are times some people come back as alcoholics or drug addicts, and because that's from a
Yes.
past life experience, the memory's still there. But this time they
Mhm.
choose, I got to go through that and just try to get better than that, learn better from that. A couple of
Yes.
words I just jotted down while you were speaking. One, of course, is balance. So we've come to learn balance in all different ways, both
Yes.
sides of the coin. Both sides of the
Yes.
coin. What it's like to feel this way, what it's like to act that way, and vice versa. So I
Right.
often think it's like the play, theater. It's the play before us, and we take on different roles at different times to learn what it's like to be the grandfather, to be the child who doesn't have, who's adopted, to all
Right.
these different characters that, and how we choose to play that character and that role in this
Absolutely.
play of life. So,
Absolutely. I find this part really interesting too. You know how sometimes somebody will have a short life. Like let's say a
yeah,
baby comes in for 6 days,
yeah,
or let's
yeah,
say somebody lives to be 7, or let's say something along
yeah,
those lines. They
yeah.
call those lives filler lives. And the reason they
Really,
called it filler, it says when souls return for a short life to help someone else rather than work on their own issues because there isn't time, they call this a filler life. And it's to teach the parents or the people
sure.
around them something. So it's not a
It's all about
full
teaching.
life.
It's all learning lessons, and what's for lessons for that soul or for other souls, it's always a
That's
lesson.
exactly right. It's always to help others. So I thought that was so interesting, a filler life, you know. And
I've never heard that
hear-
filler
I,
life.
I thought this is from Michael Newton,
Michael
and
Newton,
Michael
Destiny of
Newton,
Souls, Journey
Life's
of Souls,
Journey of Souls, which is a great book. Journey
fabulous
of
book.
Souls. It's a
Great,
great
great
book.
book. All his
Um,
books are great.
yeah, and he was a psychologist who started doing past lives between lives.
That's right. That's
So
right. I
interesting.
met him years and years ago. I met him, and a very kind man. And yeah, great work. Great
It's
with
great
great.
work. Oh my gosh. And one of the things he talks about is dying from a catastrophic event. So, for instance, 9/11, for instance, COVID, for instance, some war, some unbelievable thing. It's not that these people were caught at the wrong place at the wrong time, okay? And there's like an arbitrary and capricious God somewhere. They planned this. They planned this. And why would they have planned this? It may have been because they were learning something about humility, or they were learning something about being a hero, or they were learning something along those lines. But it's not arbitrary and capricious if somebody passes away. For instance, James, like you read, we would know all of these stories from 9/11 when people died during 9/11. And then you have the stories of people who their alarm clock didn't go off that day and they were supposed to be there, or they were supposed to be there and something, they got in a car accident. Or,
David G, who I've worked with before, I was telling this
yeah,
story this morning. Yeah,
no.
yeah, this morning. He worked at the towers, one of the towers, and he was doing that Tuesday morning. And he went into the lobby, and this is before anything spiritual. He walked out of, if I remember this correctly, he walked out of the lobby. He had a feeling, I don't have to be here today. He walked out and he went down around in the Bowery area, there, that street, down Wall Street, and there was a homeless person, and with a sign that said, "How does your life matter?" And then, I don't know, 2 hours later, the towers went. So,
Wow.
yeah, and now he's of course, a spiritual teacher, and he
Yeah.
helps many, many people, and there's always a reason behind it,
Isn't
but from
that
the human perspective, when we look at the human thing, the
yeah,
catastrophes and horrible things, they are horrible, but it's the human part of us that looks at that and
right.
judges it. We have judgment with
Right.
it,
Well,
it's
there
ju
was a great story here that I read. I thought this was really extraordinary. There were three women in Germany, or in Munich, at the death camp at Dachau in 1941. And the three women were there. They were helping to comfort children who were going to be killed, and they were going to be killed themselves. And when they went on the other side, it turned out their mission was to learn to have courage.
wow.
Isn't that
Wow.
something?
Wow.
So
Wow.
people choose we choose lives to for deep meaning, and our soul never forgets who we are, never forgets who we are.
Really, I think I don't know if you read this in Michael's work, but I know that the theory of group soul experiences. For instance,
Yes.
I know about World War II. I was there. I'm not sure what side
Yes.
I was on, but I know that, and I know a lot of souls chose that. And
Yes.
so, why did they choose that? So maybe they're teaching humility to the rest of the world.
Yes.
And some I think they're advanced souls that come in for those experiences like that.
I
And
would agree.
I think they're advanced souls, and it's
Yeah.
like a group soul connection there. There's
Yeah.
a whole the spirit world calls it waves of souls, and I
Oh,
like that term,
I love that.
waves of souls, waves of
Yes.
nothing is arbitrary. You said nothing is
Nothing is arbitrary. I
the
mean,
human does that separates
right.
things. Yeah,
And one of our lessons of life that we may even just come here to be is to learn how to be human.
I just wrote down learning to be human, human learning to be human, the human
We got to
experience,
stop that.
the human experience,
Human experience.
and it's rare. And there are souls that are
Mhm.
really want to come back to this earth school. A
Right.
lot of souls want to come. This is the place to come to because
Yeah.
here you have things you can do here.
Mhm.
We'll talk about destiny points and free will because a lot of people would
Yeah.
wonder about that. So, destiny points in your blueprint. I think if we look at it as school, that
Mhm.
there are certain classes you have to go through to learn certain
Right.
things. You've signed up for these particular classes, and those
Mhm.
are destiny points. I think that we do that. Now, once we get to that destiny point, I think we have free will on what we're going to do with it. So, for instance,
Yes.
let's say there's a destiny you're going to meet a certain person for
Yeah.
coffee, meet a coffee or something. They meet for coffee. Now they have free will. Are they going to be together in a relationship? Is it just a one-time hello for coffee? Is it going to be a
Right.
long friendship? So that's our free will comes in there. And I think
Right.
you can choose the best of your free will if you use your intuition, right? That's
Right on.
our
Uh,
soul's guidance system.
And part of our growth using that free will is to understand that we have the ability to make a change during mid course. And that change that we could make will alter and change our karma for the better.
Well, it's rippling effect, isn't it?
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly the rippling effect.
In the past and the present future, it's hard to, from the human perspective again, because we live in linear time, but there really is no time. We're
Yeah.
outside of time when we pass out of the physical.
Right.
So it's like you said before, the past, the present, future happening at the same time. I believe that for sure. And choices we make
Absolutely.
now can affect the past and the future, of course.
Right. And
Yeah.
while we're setting up our schedule of everything that we want to do with our destiny points, we also have to take into consideration the other players in the drama,
For
which you
sure.
would just the other players. Who is going to be here? Are we going to be there at the same time? And a question that I get asked often, James, and I'm sure you do too, is will I find my soulmate? How
Sure.
will I know? How will I know?
I did
Well,
a course on it. Yes.
they they actually on the other side, while you're doing this pre-planning, they have a class called the place of recognition. They
Really?
Yes, and they teach you how to pay attention to signs. You know how you and I we do shows talk constantly about signs. Look at the signs. For
Yeah.
God's sakes, look at the signs. So you actually it's so I thought that was the most fascinating thing that I have
Totally.
learned that
Totally. The
you
place of
can
recognition.
and it might be the sign might be you meet somebody and go, I recognize that laugh,
Yeah.
or look at those eyes, or I don't know, something about that
I,
person.
I'm right now with someone, this, that I'm with
Yeah,
someone, and it's like we know each other from lifetimes. We just don't know where or what, but we know there's a connection, the fabric, there's a cloth,
right,
there's a connection to
right.
the fabric. And yeah, and that's comforting in many
It's
ways, that you're with, like you and I have been together
right.
many
Oh,
lifetimes. It's
many times. But
you
what's
know,
so interesting is when you take, oops, I thought my phone was off. When you take this class in recognition, so help you to remember, you may also put in some things that will help in the event you missed it the first time, you missed it the second time, you missed it the third time. There
right.
are those people.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you're going to meet your soulmate if you're here to meet that soulmate. Believe me, you're going to meet your soulmate.
For sure. It won't, if that's what you have to learn, and at that time you choose it, you're gonna
Right.
get it. So it's very, very true.
Absolutely, you're going to learn that. But I think
Nothing
these,
happens like nothing happens, we say arbitrarily. It's
no,
everything's divine timing. And
everything is
that's the
divine
hard thing
timing.
for a lot of humans to, and also they want to control everything, and some things you just can't
Right.
control on this level.
Right.
But that's part of it. So once you release yourself and surrender to that awareness of the soul self, not the human self, boy, life changes.
Life changes. And the other thing that helps life change is when you learn from the human relationships is to accept people for who
Who
they
they
are
are.
without expecting your happiness or anything to be dependent upon them.
No judgment. And you can,
No
yeah,
judgment.
One of the lessons I learned this lifetime, Kelly, was definitely having unrealistic expectations.
Oh,
Big one for me. And
yeah,
I had to, because I'm, 4 planets in Leo. Give, give, give. And you
yeah,
expect something back. I was like, and I got disappointed all the time. Of course, then I
yeah,
realized, well, you can't place that on people. It's unrealistic expectations. People are
yeah.
going to be themselves. You just go for the ride, go along for the
Right.
ride, because you can't change people. People
No,
are the
you
way they
can't.
are. You can't change them as much as you
No,
try. Can't change them. They're
no,
still
you
going to be the
cannot.
same.
Now, this is a good, interesting question, James, from Laura Isig. I was murdered in a past life by my now boyfriend. I just realized this 2 weeks ago. I said, I need to tell you something, but you are going to think I'm crazy. You murdered me in a past life. As I was telling him about it, he said, yes, it took place in the 50s, and it was a white four-panel van. I never told him the era it took place in. Holy Mother of God.
Wow. 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 And Laura's very in tune. Laura's a student mind.
Yeah.
Laura's a very intuition. I mean, so that makes
But
sense 100%.
and I want to mention something about that, Laura. Thank you for saying that because years ago I had a situation very similar where it wasn't about murder, but it was with somebody who was in the South in during the Civil War, and
Gotcha.
this feeling came up and this memory came up when I was with this person, and I started describing everything, and then he turned around and said, "And blah 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 blah," and I couldn't believe it. So we were living in that moment at that exact time. It was fascinating. So I know exactly what you're saying, Laura. Thank you for sending that.
Shared the space.
Yes, exactly. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So interesting.
Yeah, we get to that mindset that we are learning. We're always learning. The people in your life right now, and the people in your life right now who are the hardest to deal with,
Yes.
they're our greatest teachers. They're our greatest
Yeah,
teachers
and
because
there's a reason we would have chosen them. There's a reason we would have chosen them. I mean, I don't care how difficult somebody is, you can always get a gem out of them,
it's true. It's
you
very,
know?
very true. And
Um,
and we got and the thing that holds us back from learning from those people is
yeah,
again judgment, fear.
yeah,
What are they
right,
teaching you? What are you learning? Be
right,
better than, just be yourself. Don't try to be anything for anyone. Just be yourself.
right. So Renee Went says, so some people don't believe in the spirit world or afterlife. Does that mean they are destined to come back again until they believe? What's that all about?
What do you think, Kelly?
Well, no. I mean, once they get to the other side, they're very clear about their limitations while they were here.
Yeah, and I also think, as I talked about before, developing the mental mind, the spiritual mind, the
Mhm.
awareness of it, I think that comes into it. Yeah, once they leave the physical vibration, they're totally open of who their
Yeah.
origin is, which is soul, the soul origin.
Well, and one of the things that I found fascinating, and I really believe that there are different levels of souls that are here with us,
100%,
right now. Some are
100%.
level one souls, which you can imagine they're like new souls.
Well,
They have,
I worked a lot with Brian Weiss who did past life regression. He would definitely describe it. There was a great analogy he would say. He'd say, "Well, this is a school. There's a schoolhouse here,
yeah,
and there are first graders, at a certain level. They're the middle
right,
school, they're the high school, and then they're postgraduates. So the
yes,
first graders, are like young souls, come back, learn about war and maybe money and power and those values, and then postgraduate souls are healers and light workers,
right,
philosophers, and so forth. So there is
right,
that gamut in between
right,
that we're learning, we're developing, and
right,
we develop faster in this vibration, the physical vibration, than the
right,
spiritual. So a lot of people
right.
think, well, once I get over there, I'll do it. This is the place you really grow in a
Oh, this is what,
spiritual
and I was so amazed and fascinated. I still am that all those babies were born during this COVID time with the mothers. How difficult! Some of them had to be by themselves, and I thought, how in the world? Why in the world would these babies want to be here? But they planned it. They wanted to be here. We all wanted to be here during this time of great
I,
growth.
I just heard in my head, Master Souls.
Ma- Oh, I got chills. Whew.
I just heard that,
Yeah,
Master
wow,
Souls.
that makes so
I've
much
never heard that
sense.
expression before. It makes sense, though. It makes total
Yeah, oh,
sense.
and I'm
Yeah,
glad to see it. Aren't
yeah,
you?
and we need it.
We
Yeah,
need it.
we
Oh
need
my
it.
gosh. Renee, would you put that? There you go. Susie Wright. Hi, Kelly and James. Do we always have just one soul that keeps returning to many lives for different experiences and lessons to learn? If not, which is our final soul that finishes our journey on the other side?
Well, that's full, because
Yeah.
number one, again, it's our perspective. So we're looking at linear time here, right? So
Mhm.
with the human, that's a soul. It's one lifetime. I personally believe that really in reality that we are on several levels of being right now. The
Yeah.
physical level is like the big toe to the soul. I've
Yes.
often say, 70% of us, our souls outside the body, only 30% is here. So there's a lot going
Right.
on outside, and
Right.
especially timing too.
Mhm.
times and realms, if you will, of reality. So we could be living several different lives at once. And it's not only on the Earth. We could maybe different galaxies, different solar systems. This is very minute place. This Earth. There are many galaxies,
Yeah,
thousands, millions of galaxies. So this is
right.
just one of many. So I tend to believe it's like a flower, and the petals are all different lifetimes happening at the moment. So I think that's more the analogy I like. I
That's
know
a
we,
good one.
yeah,
No, I think that's a good one too. I mean, and I think that our soul, we have our soul is here to learn and grow and continuously grow. So we don't have different souls. We're the same soul. We just keep growing and growing and growing and growing and
and all of our experience, kind of, should also mention that all of our experiences in the lifetimes or
Mhm.
wherever we learn from them. And I often say the dimmer switch turns up, the light gets brighter, the
Yes.
awareness, the
I love
expansion.
that.
And once you
Yes.
feel with somebody, you're in an energetic space, and you feel something, wow, they're knowledgeable, or they're wise, or they're expansive, or they're very kind, or whatever. I think that's because lifetimes of that. And then we
Yes.
learn from that, or we glean from that, if we, what we
Right.
will.
Yeah, right. Joanne Wilson says, "What are your oh, I'm sorry. Well, what are your feelings on Akashic records? Is this our soul's records of each lifetime?"
To boil it down, I'd say yes. If in a simplistic way,
Yeah.
yes. And Edgar Casey used to go into a trance in the
Yeah.
1930s. And he would go to the Akashic records when there was some kind of an ailment with someone, and he would check the soul's records and see what their experiences were in other lifetimes and why this is
Mhm.
manifested in this particular lifetime, and what is the remedy for that if it's meant
Wow.
to be.
Wow. And what
Yeah.
yeah, if it's meant to be.
The Akashic
Right.
records, yeah, without a doubt. And there's no reason why you have to be out of the physical to go to the Akashic records. You could do that in a deep meditation. You can be brought. The only
Right.
thing that's holding us back is our own heads, our own minds. You can go there. I've had many experiences with people with going to the Akashic records,
Right.
halls of records, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. All right, Renee, would you put that up again? Terry Timmerman, what lesson would it be that a certain date always results in a significant change, either negative or positive, in my life? Each year on July 3rd, throughout my life, something has happened, be it an accident, a hospitalization, a death, a transfer, homes, etc. I have no idea what it means, but no, it's not a coincidence. That's right, Terry. It's not a coincidence. So if something is happening on a certain date, in your blueprint you would have put that in your contract you would have said on some date this is going to happen um, and some things are meant to be, they are destiny points.
Yeah, and again, it's some awareness. It's an awareness of
Yeah.
so it happens the same time every year. I wonder how often you've asked yourself, Terry, what am I learning from this?
Okay, that's the question, James,
What
right
am I
there.
learning from this?
Hmm.
And if I've learned it, I don't need to repeat it again because I've learned it.
Right.
So you have to get that mindset of what am I learning here and be
Hmm.
humble enough to receive whatever it's going to be about yourself, about loving yourself, about loving someone else, whatever it is, be
Right.
open to learning it. And then I bet it won't come back.
Right, right. Nancy Lee, how come most of us cannot remember our past lives? Would it hinder our current life if we are able to recall everything?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. As
Yes.
as my baby grandson said when he was telling me about the other side in heaven and he's 4 years old, he said, Gigi, you won't believe this, but they take away all of our memories. I said, why do they take away all our memories, August? And he said, so we can create new memories. I'm a
Great.
4-year old.
Right.
There
Great.
you go.
And memory is only created down here, not in the spirit world. You're only
Exactly. That is
so
so true.
and that's we've talked about this many times, past lives, and I know personally I was a general in many wars, and I know that
Yeah.
Auschwitz, like something would happen there, and I know that if I in this lifetime was very aware of those things I did in that other lifetime, whatever the experience was, I'd be so obsessed with making that better and trying to
Yeah.
heal it that I
Yeah.
wouldn't be the current curriculum that's in my soul's blueprint. I'd be
Yeah.
so obsessed with the past. So that's why it's really a grace from God, the divine, whatever
Oh,
you want
it's
to call
such
it.
a great way to look at it.
Grace. It's a grace
Hmm.
that we're afforded at this time. It's a
Yeah.
grace. That's why life is it's
Wow.
really precious. It's sensitive.
It's so precious. Carrie Ungerland says, question, what happens when we experience that feeling when we've done the exact thing before?
Deja vu.
Deja vu.
Deja vu. Because you've done
Yeah.
it before. Even people in your life that you know before, experiences you've had, and then you go to a certain city or exactly where the street is or the house is. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah, that happens. Jessica Delegati, can you reincarnate as an animal or do
Very
you come
interesting.
back as a human?
That's a very interesting question, Jessica. Kelly, what do you think about this? Because I've had
Well,
people
I
ask
don't
with this.
I don't I personally don't think we go back as an animal, but what you I think you I
Well, I was walking with my doggy Maisie this morning.
they're
Where
so advanced.
and I look down at her every morning with like gratitude and just and have awareness. And I got the hit that animals are so much more evolved than humans.
Totally.
Some, and of course I know that. And I'm like, oh, I said, thank you for teaching me. And they're so
Yeah,
evolved. I mean, that's that master soul group.
right,
Unconditional love. I mean, come on. They're
right.
unconditional love. They have personalities, but unconditional love.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay, Rachel Rogerson, do we plan out our animals?
So
Yes.
100%. I know my dog and I have lived many lives. All my
Oh
animals
yeah.
in my house I have, even down to, I know it's gonna sound weird, turtles, goldfish. I mean, I
Oh.
go over. I used to have when I was a little boy. I used to a fish would pass away, and my mother was like, "Let's throw it down the toilet." I said, no, we gotta have a funeral for it, and gotta honor
Oh.
it. Right? And I used to have a little like wake in my bedroom with the flowers for the goldfish or the hamster or the
You were
turtle.
always a sensitive soul.
And I put an animal graveyard at the side of the house called St. Michael's Pet Cemetery. And I had popsicle sticks. I'm sure a lot of people here probably did for the grave markers, the crosses. And
Oh my God, that's
every life
just
counts. Even now, it's like when I see spiders or someone's there hit a fly. They have an awareness. They have a consciousness. You can't do that.
well, I'll tell you something funny. Before I went on the show today, I said to Don, I called Don, is in the other room, and I said, "Honey, there's a fly, quick!" And it was on my hand. So he took the fly swatter and he smacked my hand and killed the fly. I didn't want it
Oh,
running around. I didn't want a Mike Pence situation.
that's so human, Kelly.
Oh my God, it's so human. It was like, get rid of the damn fly. Okay, Sue Dotson. When there's a person you don't like or want to be around, is it
Great
because of a past
opportunity.
life? Great question.
Great opportunity. What do you learn? It could be a past life, but also what are you learning about yourself? What are you learning
Yeah,
about the other person?
yeah,
Are you in judgment? Are you in fear? Or are you of love? So
right.
all of those things.
Yeah.
I don't think there's only one main answer. I think it's a combination sometimes of many things.
I always now go to, oops, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, it feels like I'm coming undone here. No?
Cheek. No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. For me, I always now view everything as what am I learning? I
100%.
know you do too.
The observation mode. And what am I learning from this experience at this moment? Even when people start going crazy, like, I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
just like say something like, okay, what am I learning here? So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's really interesting. You never know what people are going to teach you. So I just had experience when I talked to you on the phone earlier today in a light bulb store, and it was very interesting. Very, very
Oh,
interesting.
tell them what happened at the light bulb store that
Well, I'm learning about lumens now because I have to my outdoor lamps. So I have light bulbs all around me because I have these lumens. And I don't know what lumens mean, so I'm learning about. I want to go back to 50 watts, 25 watts, but now it's all about the lumens. 'Cause LEDs, of course, save energy and I'm trying to change the like I don't know 4 or 5 light bulbs around outside my house, and I had to do the lumens thing. So I went to a lighting store and I walked in, and well, to make a long story short, it wasn't a great experience at all. The sales clerk looked at my name and she said, "Oh, there's a guy on television. He reads minds. Like, I've heard of him." And I took my mask. I said, "I'm known as a medium, actually." So, and we had a great experience. It was wonderful.
I thought that was an unbelievable
Everything
story.
around, and she was very, yeah. So it was very kind, and she's just had she was adopted. Another experience that we go through in pre-planning
And we
adoption,
would
or not.
plan that. We plan adoption.
We plan adoption, no
Mhm.
doubt about it. And
Yeah.
this experience that soul has to, all experiences the soul has to have,
Yeah.
and she has just met her father, her real life father. So, and that was
Interesting.
experience again, I think,
Yeah.
which is part of that blueprint experience as well.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it was a great experience, and I said, "Well, thanks," and you showed me the light. Oh, like,
Oh,
what's
this is
I
I
some
love that.
light bulbs for $40 or two light
Perfect.
bulbs. Yeah,
But that reminded me what happens is on the other side when you're planning your life and you choose the mother and you choose the body, you choose everything.
sure,
At that moment, you may also decide to come in and enter the body. You may enter the body and go back. You may enter the body. You may, make some trips into the body to see if it's comfortable, if you like it, as a baby, as an, inside of your
sure.
mother.
Well, a couple of things you said. I wanted to see if you don't mind, just go
Mhm.
back with. So you pick the family, you do. So
Mhm.
my mother was alcoholic. I obviously picked that when I was a young boy. I used to be screaming and why this, And of course, now I look at it as a gift because it taught me about, addiction, about compassion, about kindness, about
Yeah.
judgment. So it really is a gift. So I think everything is a gift that we have. I think, and sometimes we do pick the mental illness or the physical handicap. I mean, it's all about learning. It's not a judgment. It's not
No.
punishment from God. It's your learning. Just remember, it's all about learning. And so what you said, the soul comes into the body of the mother, the baby. 100%. I mean, I've done many readings with this and regressions and so forth. And the baby will check usually around the sixth, seventh, eighth month. They'll start coming
Yeah.
in and checking out and sending telepathic thoughts to the mother, whether it's give it to
Okay.
eat better, drink more water, or whatever, take care of it.
Right.
It's us here. It's us here. And it really becomes a connection, and it gets
Yeah.
strong with each passing month. So eighth month,
Yeah.
ninth month stays a little bit more, adjust things. So like the light bulb, turning on the light bulb. And I've heard that the last month it goes around the 10th month, it can still go in and out, even the physical body's there. It goes in and out. And at the end of the 10th month, it usually stays in.
Right.
And remember, because it's dealing with physical vibration now, and it's not used to that. It's a dense
Right.
void now. And it tends to come in, of course, in the crown chakra, because that's the soft spot of the baby. See, it's the last thing that closes
Right.
up. And yes, very much so. It's very much a real thing that they check out the body and
You check it out.
connection
Right.
with the mother, check connection with the mother in
Right.
this lifetime. What is our connection? Yeah.
So, Colleen, oh, Cheryl Marth, are dreams part of our life plan? If it's a bad dream, are you observing something or learning something?
It's the Kelly question.
Well, yeah. So, are dreams part of our life plan? Well, when we're here, we do dream, but we're often spending time on the other side,
True.
which will look like a dream. So sometimes a dream is a dream where you're trying to deal with and make sense of something or trying to work through something. So it's either you're trying to learn something or make sense of something or heal something, or it could be a visit on the other side. So it all depends on each dream is specifically different.
Right, many types of dreams, and what we call dreams,
Hmm.
and different levels of consciousness that we're in and out of. It's the human conscious remembering these things and try to fit it into a box, and sometimes it's
Right.
hard because you're there
Yeah.
and you're here at the same time sometimes.
Now, a woman named Colleen says, I was told I'm an old soul with 32 past life. What is the
I
average
think
number?
33 and a half.
33 and a half. 33 is my favorite number. What is the average number of lives that souls have had?
Oh, I've had
It,
this question many
Me
times.
too. That's why I figured people need to have an answer for this one. Hundreds? Could be hundreds.
And I just say, I don't know,
Yeah.
because every soul is different,
Hmm.
and you're placing a human connection, a human description on that, which
Yeah.
is can't be human. I mean, what is a lifetime? What's considered a lifetime? Are you talking in human time, human
Right.
terms, or we're not
Right.
humans, we're souls. So it's
Right.
soul time is very different. So I would say instead of lifetimes, I think it's more apropos and accurate to say soul experiences.
I love that. How many soul
Soul
experiences? So Vivian Ishimaru says, "Can we choose not to take any human experiences in the future?"
experience.
Yes,
Yeah, we
you
can.
can, absolutely. Now, what will happen is you may you may have just have had enough of this place, you know, but there are other dimensions to learn in, other galaxies to learn, other schools that you can learn, a lot of places to go to learn.
And the thing we got to kind of remember, if you will, is that again, this is a linear time vibration that we really are souls having a human experience, not the other way around. And
Right.
you can't place time on the soul experience. And I find that many times, when souls first go to the other side and they're outside of time, they look back at their lives, which are
Yeah.
let's say 60, 70, 80, 90 years, and when they're over there, it's like blink. 90 years is nothing compared to
Right.
eternity. So they think, well, I'll go back for another time. What's 60 years of the earth time? I'll be better on this other side. I think that's what happens a lot of times.
I
People
think
don't.
so too.
Yeah.
Okay, S. Because we are here to learn, what is the best approach to achieve this?
Got it.
Through intellectual, spiritual endeavors equally, or should we focus solely on evolving spiritually?
One word: love.
Yeah.
Love is the key. Love
Yeah.
is the key. You didn't have that in your intellectual and spiritual. I want to say emotional, but love conquers everything. Love is in all.
Yeah.
So it's finding that love of self, a love of other people, love in everything we do. You should be
Yeah.
passionate what you do in life
Yeah.
because this is no dress rehearsal. This is life,
This is
and
it. Yeah.
this is it. This is a chance we have opportunities that we're afforded
Right.
to really learn about love, loving ourselves, loving people for who do us wrong, loving them for that, loving
Absolutely.
who they are and for what they. Kelly told me something years ago when someone close to me. She said, "Well, he's a nice guy, but he's very limited."
Yeah.
And I didn't see that at the time, but it so makes sense. And once
Yeah.
they accepted that, relationships changed. It was amazing.
That's
So
so
that
true.
limited is a great way.
Limited is a good one to use. Renee Went says, as a parent, do you choose your child? My child was a drug addict and is now recovered for many years. Did we choose each other? Yes.
100%, 100%, Renee, and you
Yes.
know that, Renee. Yes, 100%. And who do we know in another lifetime you might have been an addict of some kind, then you had
Yeah.
to work through that. So it's all a balance. It's what are we learning from each other? If humans could be about instead of judging our experiences and each other, what are we learning from these experiences and from each other? That would be the better way of looking at it, I think.
Yeah. So, Amy, this is a good question. Amy Lasik says, are we able to determine when our soul came into existence or when we were created?
Is that
Um,
linear time, spiritual time, physical time? What time are we talking about? What dimension is this? Is there a beginning? Is there an end? Or is it just all experiences?
yeah. Yeah, that's a good answer for that one. Yeah.
It's an awareness. It's and how do we know? It's we we
Yeah.
pu- we also can be part of ether, liquid,
Yes.
gas, air. There's different elements that our soul can be connected with. That's who we
Right.
really are too. And we have to experience everything in every
Right.
form of life, if you will.
Oh, wait, James, you're going to love this question. So this
Okay.
is from Caddy Newman.
I
No
love the name.
judgment. I love the name. No judgment. Authentic question over the dealing with the learning of coping with a non-aware, non-believing partner. That's a rough one, Caddy. I'm so sorry, honey.
Wow.
But
Kelly and I were just talking about this yesterday.
yes, we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're on a planet with people that are sleeping.
Yes.
We call it the slumber state down here.
Hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes you're put together with that person to help them to open up, to become
Yeah.
awake, to learn what it's like to be asleep. How do you react with this other person? Something I'm going to share with everybody is, people that you have in your life that are you confront or you're with, they're a mirror to yourself because we're all
Yeah.
connected. So what is going on with them that you're not looking at within yourself? What
Yeah.
inside yourself needs, if you have a bad relationship, what inside yourself needs to heal? So they're always reflections to us.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be separate. We want to be in unison. So what are we learning from that?
Yeah. Exactly. What are you learning from that one? Yeah.
And it
That's
could be
an
simple. It
interesting.
doesn't have to be a major, a major thing that you're going through. It could be a simple thing as learning about trust, compassion, kindness, understanding.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Denise Chapadelaine, can we have new lives that are different culture from our current one? Oh, of course. I feel a
Yeah,
strong connection to Gandhi. I do too, always.
me
And the
too.
Middle Eastern culture. Me too, Denise, always. Yes. I mean, this time I chose to be raised in LA and now live on a farm in the middle of the
Okay.
country.
I
And
wouldn't understand that, but
I,
that's
what can I say? But I
but
mean,
it's
I
all about
always was
learning.
drawn to India.
Yeah, it's always about learning. So you,
Hmm.
you learn about different cultures. A good friend of mine has lived in 6 or 7 countries in the world in her lifetime,
Oh,
and it's learning. It brings us soul expansion.
right.
We learn from these experiences of different cultures, different languages, different ways of being.
Right.
I say God is in the diversity. God is every single culture, and
Hmm.
if instead of judging that, we embrace that. Wow, what am I learning from this culture? What am I learning from this person? What are they teaching me? It'd be
Right.
such a better world instead of
Right.
controlling
Right.
people accept for everything. We were all God. There's no limitation of
Right.
God,
There's no
right?
limitations.
Yeah.
Okay, Vivian Ishmaru, great question. Do trees and plants have a different type of spirit soul? James, you take this one.
Well, I'm going to say, and looking at it from a human perspective, we could say yes, different awareness. Let me put it that way, different consciousness. Again, are they more evolved than the human? You're talking to a gardener here.
I
So
know.
for me, yeah, the plant kingdom's kind of up there. I
Yeah.
think the human level, that goes back to what I've said before when someone in my audience asked me about where's the evolvement of the human compared to everyone else. And
Yeah.
the guys came through and they said, you humans, the human experience is like a grain of sand on the beach compared to what's all out there.
Wow.
So it's beyond our belief.
Oh my gosh. So Christina Anastasia says, do we have more than one soulmate? Of
Yes.
course, we have
So
lots of
how many
soulmates.
lifetimes you
And it,
have?
and
How
it
many?
doesn't, I think if maybe Christina, you're just meaning like in a romantic way, but that could be many too. And then it could be, my mother was my soulmate. James, you're my soulmate. My daughter's my soulmate. Don is my soulmate. We have, certain people you're just soulmates.
I just met somebody in my life who we're hanging out, and Kelly knows this, and we just connected right away. It
Mhm.
was weird. And it was funny because it was at a friend. I gave my house to a friend of a family reunion because they had discovered
That's
something
right.
they didn't know. And I said, I'm just going to do that. Well, this person came to my life. This girl came to my life, and the door opened, and she was holding a cactus. I'm like, "How did you know?" And she goes, "Oh, I know." And she didn't know it was a gardener. She had no idea. But since that meeting, we get along on so many levels. Of we just know each other, and it's like, wow, this is
Oh,
so.
that would be a soulmate connection.
That's a soulmate connection. We call it the reunion. She goes, "Our reunion," because, and
Right.
that's what happens. We reunite with
Yeah.
those souls, and that also is in your blueprint. The time you're going to.
Absolutely, it's in your blueprint. So this is a great question
Can I
from.
just mention something to which I'm thinking about as
Oh,
I'm doing this? There are many times that a soul
mhm.
will have had a lifetime, past life experience, if you will, and let's say it chose not to live on and to take its own life, and maybe it was like, who knows, 33 years. Oh, here we go, by 33, 34 years of age. And I do believe that that soul will come back, and in the next lifetime, they will have to go through learning what's that right thing to do. Is it taking your life, or is it not taking life? Is
Yes.
relying on values? And I think in the current life that soul is going through, when they reach that age, around 30, 34, the
Yeah.
soul memory might give it this extra push of,
Yeah.
of remembrance or balance or something happens.
Yes.
I think that's true when
Or
that goes.
even at
And we
that
have a
time.
choice, but we have a choice that patterns
Yeah.
might repeat themselves. And
Mhm.
so, what are we going to do with the same pattern in this lifetime? Are we going to do it different than the other lifetime? And
Right.
I think that happens.
Absolutely. And I'm wondering also if during that time, if that person instead might have the helping the decision or the idea to help another soul who was going through that.
100%. I think it's a strong
That's really
possibility.
interesting.
It's,
Okay,
it's
this is a good question. Jerry Dombrowski says, "Why would a soul choose a solitary existence? What can I ever learn from that?" Great question.
a great question. I love it being solitary personally. I love it.
Well, what are you learning, Jerry? I mean,
Yeah,
that's really the
I wouldn't
question.
put a judgment on it. What are you learning about
None.
yourself? Are you
Mhm.
forcing yourself to be with yourself, to look at yourself?
Yeah,
Will you look at yourself and be honest with yourself? What do you need to learn? What do you do to change your life? Do you need to forgive people? What's the reason why? And is that a bad thing, solitary experience? Not necessarily.
right,
It's how you look at it. What is your soul going through?
right.
Is there a judgment there? And I
Well,
often say, Kelly, that everything is choices, and the choices come down to either
right.
love or fear.
Well, I love or fear, and Stacy Thompson says self-reliance. That's a
Self-reliance,
good one. I
self-love.
like that one.
Good one.
Um, okay. Visual memories. I believe my mother's passing was meant for me to wake up. Oh yeah, to remember. I was very unaware of the afterlife, angels, guides, and now I'm very aware. Absolutely.
Fabulous. So sometimes it takes a mother's passing or someone in your life, a strong emotional connection, and
Right.
they pass over and gets us on our path. No doubt about
Right.
it. And that's
Absolutely.
many times it's predestined.
Oh gosh. So Jacqueline asked a great question. She says, please give me information about exit points. How many? What types? Well,
Wow.
I'm just going to take a stab here.
Yeah.
We could have one exit point. We could have 10. We could have 3. We could have whatever it is you put into your plan before you incarnate. Um, and
100.
what types? Could be an accident, could be cancer. It could be,
Near-death
anything.
experience.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah, yeah, fatal
Right.
car accident, but you didn't die in the car accident. There's so many different
Right.
variables and
Yeah.
scenarios. But that exit points. Again, Jacqueline, we can't look at it as a human perspective because we're going to limit the
Right.
consciousness. So we got to look at it as a bigger scheme, which is about learning about love
So
or
let
fear.
me answer this question. This is a good one. Jessica Frost says, "Do we have more than one possible exit point? And if so, could my 13-year-old son who died in a freak accident a year ago possibly have lived longer if he had not been in that place or that time?" I don't believe so. I really don't. I believe that was his exit point. And what I was talking about earlier about a fuller life or a filler life, that he would have come in for 13 years to have taught you something very important about love, that love never
100%.
dies, or
That's our
opening your.
place. The spirit world's our place to be. That's where
Yeah,
we live there. So a 13-year-old
yes.
past advanced soul because
Advanced
they're
soul.
only a little bit of life experience. There are some souls that come in and all they have to
Yeah,
experience is a birth process. And it's a lesson for themselves or
right.
the mother and the father. It's look at it this way. Don't look at time like 70, 80, 90 years. That's successful life. No, it isn't. It's
Right,
experiences. All that
right,
soul might need 13 years, 25 years, 50 years. That's all it needs. Thank God it didn't have to say longer because it's a hard school. It's a hard
right.
school, as we know. So
Oh,
I would say bless them because they're back home again.
right. Christina Anastasia says, but what about, I think she means COVID. I mean, I think that
The condition of
COVID,
COVID, the
yeah,
condition of COVID, which is,
mhm,
yeah, again, it wasn't just happened.
no,
It was there. It was in the
yeah,
charts for us to go through it,
mhm,
and what we're
yeah,
learning from it. And again, I keep on getting a sense that you're limiting the consciousness. You can't. It's the
yeah,
human level, and we got to
yeah,
go beyond the human level. Is an understanding. What are learning from COVID? When I first started, I told everybody, it's getting us back home. We got to stay home, forced to
right,
be at home. What that means is go into yourself. Go to
right,
yourself. What are your values you're learning? What's going on with you? What are you honoring about yourself? What are you not
right.
honoring about yourself? Lessons for us, and now it's lessons for humanity. I believe it's moved into another level
Oh,
here. It's about
100%.
humanity. And what are we doing for humanity? And I would
Right.
say, are you thinking about yourself? Oh, I can't take a vaccine because of myself. It's like it goes beyond that. It's because
Yeah,
of humanness now. Now it goes to the
totally.
human understanding. And it's also, I think it affects everybody. There's a rippling effect. And
Yeah,
we got to be open. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
totally.
I just
This is a good
limiting.
question. Ardelia from Australia. Hi, Ardelia. I love her. She says, do souls that come to Earth also meet to organize their soul contracts as well? And what we need to talk about briefly is that when we all gather together, decide what we're going to do, we come in as a soul group.
That's
We're a
correct.
soul group. So, yes, we would all organize. Now, you're going to be here during this time, and I'm going to meet you during this time, and we're going to do this, and we plan this. So, yes, there's a
But
lot of planning that goes
the
on.
characters on the stage, they prepare, they
Exactly.
rehearse, they prepare for that
Mhm.
upcoming production. And those some characters leave a certain scene and they're still around, but they're backstage now, maybe helping out from backstage. So there's
Yeah.
always that the different roles we take on. And as soul groups, Kelly said, we come to learn from each other and we say, let's go
Mhm.
take a class together. Let's go do this again.
Yes, exactly.
I know you and I do that. Let's do this again.
Oh my god, and I think this is our last time to do this, but,
We didn't have enough fun before. We're gonna have this time.
oh my god, hence apple cider, um,
In
hard
Wisconsin.
cider. So let's talk about, is it let me see, when are you doing your Halloween special?
October the 29th. It's Friday, October the 29th. And
Okay.
I did it on a Friday night, which we're talking about that. It went really, really well. And this is my other Halloween seance I'm having. And it's Friday, October 29th. There is right there, an evening of spirit. And you can sign up at my website, praagh.com. And Friday was, if any indication, and Kelly couldn't be there. You were busy with Friday, but it
Yeah.
was, as Renee told you, it was a pretty interesting
I
evening.
heard it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was pretty great because the
Oh my
veil is
god.
thinner. Things come through much easier and just
Oh,
come through
you guys
wave.
have got it. October 29th, you guys have got to go to that because it's gonna be that veil right for, and I think you're gonna do a costume thing.
I'm gonna wear a costume. I'm gonna have a costume party. So when people come in, wear a costume, and I'm gonna try and pick out the best costume. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll work that out. But I'll be in costume.
I
Trying to
think that's
figure out
gonna be
what's
so
gonna.
funny. Oh my god. And I have to mention one thing too. I'm going to be on, let me see, November 6th in Lake Geneva with Jen Weigel as a
Great.
keynote speaker. Um,
Congratulations!
Thank
Wow,
you. It's going to be
great.
a lot of fun in Wisconsin. So if you're in Wisconsin or if you're coming from Chicago or whatever, come join us. I think we have a few seats left.
Oh, so it's
Um,
a physical gathering.
it's a physical gathering. I'm going to do it. And
What
it's,
did you say
let's
that?
see.
Before you said that, I think I was moving, traveling somewhere, and then you just said
Oh
that.
my God. Yep. I'm going to be
That's
doing that.
physical
And I,
gathering. Good for you. Good.
thanks, and I think that Renee is gonna put it up, it's on jenweigel.com, but I think we have the thing here somewhere. Uh,
KellyWhite.com.
yeah, but it's under Jen Weigel, 'cause I don't think it's on my
W
site.
is it WIEGEL or
Yeah, yeah, so that's gonna be a fun
WIE?
thing.
And she's a lovely, lovely lady from Chicago. I met years ago when I was on a book tour talking to Heaven.
She's great.
Great interviewer in Chicago and really well known in Chicago as well. And
Yeah,
funny.
so that's
I
she's
love
very
her.
well known in Chicago. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And then this Thursday, I've got Bill Sinkay on, I wanna mention, on my show, and we're gonna be
Now, who is
he
he, Kelly?
well, Bill's the one that does our voiceovers, and he's a
Oh,
great guy, but he's also a hypnotherapist. He's
didn't
a
know that.
hypnotist, and he's doing past life regression
Oh, fantastic. When is that, Saturday?
this
No, that's
Thursday.
Thursday. Ask me
Yeah.
anything this
Yeah,
Thursday.
ask me
Fine.
anything. So that's gonna be fun with
Oh,
Bill.
that's great. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, James. Well,
Well, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for
thank
hanging
you.
out.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
We'll
Renee.
see you
Thank
next
you,
week,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
The James and Kelly Show.